Hi everyone and welcome to another Pick a Card reading brought to you by 1millionnights.com. Today we have a very special subject because on the 30th of November we are going to have a penumbral lunar eclipse in the sign of Gemini, and this is important because an eclipse is basically a full moon, and every full moon has revelatory qualities, so it sheds light on something. It delivers clarity, and when it's also an eclipse, it is also karmic, and it can impact us that much more. And Gemini has a lot to do with information, with truth, with communication, with other people, with our connections, and even connection to ourselves. So this can be a game changer, at least from a psychological point of view. Or it can at least change our way of thinking, hopefully in the most positive and useful and of course practical sense, because Gemini is all about practicality. So, it's not just philosophies, thoughts, principles and all of that. It also has to be applicable, practical. It has to have good uses one way or another. So this Pick a Card reading takes a look at how this astrological phenomenon can influence our lives. All you need to do is just look at the 3 piles of cards for a couple of seconds, or as long as you need, and then choose a pile which sparks up your intuitive senses the most, and of course then just jump straight into the interpretation. The timestamps for the 3 piles can be found in the comments below. For those of you who have chosen the first pile, your cards are the Hermit, Justice Reversed, and the 2 of Coins. For you guys, this combination of cards may represent that this eclipse is going to take you in a very deep, contemplative, meditative state where either, like an inner epiphany, an inner force, or an external event will guide you back, of course mentally, into the past, back through memory lanes, where you are going to take a look at certain choices and decisions that you have made, and they have had a massive impact on your life. Now, these decisions are not very straightforward, because you don't even know how you feel about them. Sometimes you think that it was the right choice, especially because at that time you may not have had any other options or better solutions in your life. But other times there is a certain doubt in the back of your mind where you might be thinking, should I have done things differently? Was it truly the right choice to make, or was it only my subjective impression? And for some of you guys, these choices were either career related, for others relationship, partnership, romance related. But even if it's career related, it's not as much about what you had to do. It wasn't that much about the routines or, the average career path, but the people in it, maybe a boss, maybe colleagues, maybe the work atmosphere, maybe, an industry in general. So either way, it was you and those other people, either other professionals or colleagues, institutions, maybe higher education, or, of course, it can also be partnerships. It can be like an associate, maybe a very, very, very close friend, or, of course, a partner in the romantic sense. The Justice Reversed speaks about the nature of your choice, which maybe was based on injustice. Maybe at that moment you felt as if, if it was like a career related issue, that people around you, or basically the industry or wherever your career was playing out was really, really unfair to you, or it was corrupt, or you didn't have equal chances, or other people were basically taking away your glory or moments of glory, or were suffocating you, or you simply didn't have the chances, regardless from which perspective, to go out there and shine and do your very, very best. So you might not have had the recognition. And if it is something which has to do with partnership in any sense, well then it is very obvious you felt unappreciated, or maybe what they gave back to you was not really equal to the amount of effort, energy, emotions, and belief that you invested. So at that time when you had to make these complicated choices, you really, really felt like this was the only thing you can do. And you also had to do this for yourself because, fairness and justice have to be experienced in life one way or another. And when you see that your life is really, really starting to be imbalanced because of, lack of fairness, well then the only possible thing to do is to either fix it, and if it's not possible, then distance yourself. Take yourself away from that situation, even if it has rather dramatic consequences, and that is exactly what you did. Yet still, sometimes it still pops up in your mind when you think back, when you contemplate, when you, navigate through memory lanes, if it was the right choice. Sometimes you may think, maybe you should have endured a little bit more, maybe you were a little bit too quick to make a decision, maybe it wasn't as unfair as you felt it. And whenever these thoughts and feelings enter your sphere of awareness, they do make you rather uncomfortable, because you might think at those moments that you have really, really made a very bad choice in life, and that has certain negative consequences, as certain doors closed in front of you, you missed out on certain opportunities, you were too talented, too good to give up for, minor or insignificant reasons like emotional issues, etc. And that is exactly what the light of this full moon is going to highlight for you. Well, first of all, it's going to truly consolidate your inner truth, because one way or another, it is going to guide you to the wisdom that you did make the right choices at that time. And for some people, it's not even one single moment in their history. It can also be a repeating karmic pattern when this keeps happening, when you feel unappreciated, regardless in which domain. So the wisdom that is going to be revealed to you, it is going to confirm that whenever you make these tactical moves, let's say, it is always the right choice, because you are never doing it, with desire of vengeance or, really negative and toxic emotions. You are just protecting your sense of dignity, your soul, and your emotional well-being. So listening to your heart, when your heart says enough is enough, well, that is always the right choice, and you don't have to regret ever. Listening to when your heart screams that you need to make this move, you just have to do what you have to do, and never ever look back, never ever regret, because, at the end of the day, there isn't really right or wrong. Every choices from a karmic perspective, of course just from a karmic perspective, are always gonna lead to the same big theme, to the same big outcome, just in different ways, different approaches. So there isn't even right or wrong. Like, take it this way, if you don't listen to your heart, if you listen to your rationality, well, you could still end up in the same way. So, for example, you would work your boots off and invest everything into your career and even swallow those emotions, and then something happens and it all ends and it still leads to the same outcome. And if it's about a partnership, well, if you don't feel appreciated, that feeling will never ever ever go away, even if your partner, let's say, changes their way. The memory is always there and the mistrust is always there. So that mistrust can be like a seed of discord, where maybe it would be you who would do the same without even knowing, so the outcome is the same. So basically this is the big wisdom that the light of this eclipse is going to shed in your mind, so to speak. And the Two of Coins, this will be so very important for your future, because this will simply make you trust your choices, your thought patterns, your intuition, your way of thinking that much more. So you are definitely heading towards a state of much greater self-trust, where you embody what Gemini is, working with yourself even in duality. And also it will help you trust your judgment, because when you consider or when you feel that something is truly unjust, imbalanced, not reciprocal, not mutual, well, then you have to trust it, because you perceive that for a very, very good reason. And at those times when, let's say, your judgment is biased, when your mind is a little bit clouded and you exaggerate, well, then you also have those very powerful doubts inside of you, which prevent you from making a radical decision there and then. So you're always safe with yourself, because your decision-making process is actually quite refined, quite sophisticated. You have a lot of inner mechanisms which lead you to the greater truth. So trust yourself, and this is the key theme for the eclipse for you guys, to trust yourself. Because the Hermit, as it opens the reading, the Hermit is the symbol of Virgo, one of the most analytical signs out there. So you really, really know how to analyze a situation from 10 million different angles and perspectives. And whenever you reach a conclusion, well, that conclusion usually is as objective as it can get, because you don't make decisions before you are at least convinced that it will actually lead you to somewhere. You never make decisions when you know that the next step is total blockage and stagnation. So, trust your mental process. For those of you who have chosen the second pile, your cards are the Devil reversed, the Six of Coins reversed, and the Four of Coins. Now, this is a very tricky and, multifaceted psychological energy, which has to do with your relationships, mostly, your friends, your acquaintances, your social connections, but for some it can even include partnership. Where this area of your life, sometimes it's really, really complicated, it can get really, really chaotic at times, and sometimes it really over solicits you, because there are times when everyone just needs you, when everyone just contacts you, and it can be really, really stressful at times, and you just don't know how to change it. Because many times it seems like you are in the center of attention, everyone wants a little bit of you, everyone wants something from you. It is like certain moments in your life when you become a star and everyone just wants to stay around you, or everyone wants a little bit of your time and, most importantly, your attention. Now, this eclipse is going to reveal to you your own flaws in your way of thinking, which are unconscious. So basically, you don't really have to feel kind of guilty for these, because this is just an unconscious pattern that is running in your mind, and there is nothing you can do about it except follow it, unless, they become conscious and you can actually see what you're doing in the background unless you can, look at yourself from the perspective of an observer and see the patterns playing out. So here, the devil reversed is actually you guys. It is not other people. Simply said, the problem is that whenever you encounter a new person, whenever you create, in that sense, social connections, friendships, acquaintances, your shadow, which is, the devil reversed, always considers how this person can be useful in my life potentially. You don't care about the now, you don't care about the moment that relationship or that social connection is formed. Quite the contrary. You always offer friendship. You always offer diplomacy. You always offer help and some kind of practicality before you even receive it. So you project what you would like other people to project back upon you, and this is exactly your biggest mistake, because 90% of the cases, it is always going to be just one-sided, because all of those people in your life, as I said, friends, social connections, acquaintances, etc., are never gonna return this to you, but you always, start this kind of relationship by offering what you have to give on a silver tray, thinking that you're going to get it back, but at one specific moment in your life when you'll need it the most. So it's not like you want to use people, quite the contrary. You just want to surround yourself with a fake sense of security. But as life is demonstrating to you each year and each karmic cycle, you never ever receive it back. You just offer. And this is exactly the devil. This is exactly the shadow, the corruption, so to speak, in your mind, that you live in the illusion that what you offer is what you're gonna receive back. And from this perspective, if your principle would actually work in real life, you wouldn't be wrong. You would actually have a very, very stable, a very safe and secure life, because you would be surrounded by a million people wanting to help you, wanting to make your life better, or at least giving you back what you offered them the first time. But unfortunately, it never ever plays out this way, because the Six of Coins reversed. You never get it back. So what these cards are actually telling you, that this mental pattern, so to speak, this inner impulse to surround yourself with friends and, people who could be useful in your life by offering your own usefulness first, is something that needs to be eliminated once and for all, because it will never ever work. Quite the contrary, you do have in your life certain people, very few of course, who truly love you and are devoted to you. And very many times, because of this over solicitation, it is exactly for those people who are the most valuable in your life, who you don't have time and energy for, just that they are infinitely understanding. So this eclipse is going to change this in your life, where your shadow is going to reformat itself, in the sense that it should actually do its true job, as in to prevent you from connecting and offering practicality, uses, advantages to other people before they offer it first. This might seem a little bit selfish, but it is not as selfish in your case, because you're living in imbalance in the other side of the spectrum, that you just offer and offer and offer and offer. It is always you who makes the first step, so to speak. So this is what needs to change, because the time has come from a karmic perspective for you to live the opposite of that, for you to be the receiver. And the side effects of this is the Four of Coins. That is your own personal power. When you don't squander your power, when you don't squander your time, your skills, your energy, well, that means that much more for you, and that much more for all those people, as I said, few in number, who truly deserve to be in your life and who love you dearly. So this is only going to make your life feel more complete, happier, and you're going to feel more powerful and freer. And basically the karmic element of this is how you learn the lesson that needing to be needed is the road to a psychological, spiritual, and moral slavery. So that is what is going to end in your life. And a period of personal power and freedom begins, even if you're not needed, but that's absolutely fine, because you need yourself, and you have everything in the shape and form of your closest people in your life. You really don't need any more friends or social connections. You really don't need what ifs. For those of you who have chosen the third pile, your cards are the Three of Swords, the Hermit, and the Fool. And this combination of cards speaks about healing. It speaks about a certain kind of mental and psychological regeneration, which will open up new doors in your life from a social perspective. Even though when hearing this, I'm not very sure that you guys are going to be appreciating this. Why? Well, that Three of Swords and the Hermit speaks about either the past, or it can be even the recent past, when, a lot of people, or simply society in general, maybe your culture in general. For some people it can be their families, it can also be their relatives or close friends who disappointed them. And I would even go much more than disappointment. Maybe they truly wounded your soul. So that caused you to distance yourself from everyone, everything. This is when basically society, the ways of society, modern life broke your heart, broke your trust, and broke your willingness to be part of it, your sense of belonging. So what happened next was your own personal hermit moment. You might have thought to yourself, well, I am not like them. I don't have anything in common with those people or society or whatever wounded you. For some people, it can also be, looking for love. Maybe they broke away from a relationship, and then of course they healed or they regenerated themselves, and they built up a lot of hope that someone out there does exist in the world who can understand them, who is like them, or maybe a soulmate or something. And they went on looking and looking, but they got more than disappointed. It was like their dream was shattered, and of course it caused them to go deep within and not come out, not want to come out ever. Because basically it was almost like their dreams of having a partner or experiencing that kind of romantic love was buried forever. But it doesn't really matter in which sense you became the hermit, if it was from a social sense, from a spiritual sense, your friendship, your family, relatives, or romantically. The most important element of this is that you were actually right. Everything that you contemplated and processed inside of you, how you reached these conclusions, those are absolutely true from so very many different perspectives, not just purely subjectively, not just for you and in your life. The problem is that you actually saw the world for what it truly was. The truth, the objective truth caused you to, enter this hermit mode. Even though for many people it's not really physical, because you might still go out and deal with people, you might still work, you might still have connections in your life, but emotionally nothing is there, because there is a massive wall between you and the others, so to speak, and it's absolutely imperatively necessary, because you have to protect yourself from their influence, and you have to live your own truth that you're actually not like them and you don't belong there. And even though, this is living in your truth, the Three of Swords is there, so it's not pleasant, it's not liberating, it is not bliss and joy, it is actually very, very painful. It is like having those 3 daggers in your heart permanently, that you only exist for yourself. Maybe the divine is there and helps you each and every second of your life, but you're an incarnated being, you're flesh and blood, you're a human, so does that help you as much? And also, I don't think you have that many hope that this is ever going to change, for the simple fact that you are not gonna change who you are, because there's absolutely nothing wrong with who you are. And in your maturity and in your wisdom, you also know that the world doesn't need to change in order to, make you fit in. No, everything is as it is, and one has to live in acceptance of it. Acceptance of the self, but also acceptance of the world. This is what is. We live in the present, and there's nothing we can do but to try our very best to cope. Now, the energies of the eclipse are definitely going to surprise you, if not shock you, because this Fool is the symbol of the great unknown, of the mystery, of the magic of the universe. When fate takes an unexpected and surprising turn, what it actually means, as in how it will practically manifest, I cannot say, because it is under a big shroud of mystery. It is something that the universe keeps for itself, but one way or another, even if just, mentally, even if it's just your inner truth, you are definitely going to see the opposite of what you believe. So basically that means if you were heavily disappointed by society, friends, circle of friends, your culture, or anything like that, maybe you are going to see that there are different people in the world, that maybe there is a place for you somewhere, there is hope, there is a chance, or maybe that the most powerful, elevated, enlightened people in existence follow your own pattern, your own karmic pattern, so you are actually on the right path. So either way, it will give you a sense of ease, a sense of relief that you're not as alone as you thought. For other people, it can be something much more practical, in the sense that maybe you are going to connect to certain people who will give you an opportunity to be yourself freely, to shine your light, to be who you are without any obstacles, judgment, and without, expressing who you are having to disappoint you each and every second of your life. So this can mean a fantastic opportunity, but if it's a job, if it's like finding a group of people, or if it's you creating something, or like an inner epiphany, I simply cannot tell. Now for others still, this can actually come in the shape and form of a person. Maybe when you are going to feel at your loneliest, someone just pops up who simply shocks you, sweeps you off your feet through their way of being. Well, the Fool is the astrological correspondent of Uranus, so it can be a really unusual person you have never encountered in your life, as in the archetype, as in their way of being. Now, if you thought about yourself that you're pretty unique or understand it the right way, weird, well then this person is and their influence on your life is going to be massive, because they will break you out from that bubble of solitude. But if this is romance and love and partnership like that, or a new best friend or a soulmate, or simply a fellow adventurer in this game of life, it cannot be known because it is under a shroud of mystery. But what can be known is that it's gonna surprise you, delight you, and shock you. Well, thank you so much for listening. I do hope that this was useful. And remember, if you'd like a personal reading, please log on to 1millionnights.com and find your dedicated advisor. Until next time, bye for now.